Uh, when you were giving that example, physically demonstrating whether you were pulling it from the shoulder or the elbow for that matter, since I had attended some classes at that point of time, uh, do you study the mind also at that point of time, or one is to study the physicality of it and the mind will take care of itself?
The mind reflects in the body. So the body tells you the state of the mind of the person.
So when I'm doing this, sorry, from
Yeah.
a personal point of view, as a teacher, I've seen you look at a posture and correct them and say you're not paying attention or something. A couple of times that has also happened. Please pay attention to this part of the body or something. That I understand that you could study it over a period of time. But while doing it, does one also look at the mind state, or that is not required?
It is. One station is this. For example, now today we had a class, and if you're making them do backward extensions, now these are elating postures. So even if you observe the sound, now when we have 40, 45, 50 people, the sound, moment the mind goes towards the back brain. So you do it in a certain manner, the mind goes to, suddenly there's silence in class. So you are addressing both. The body tells the mind, the body alters the mind, and the mind alters the body. So there's a constant dialogue which is happening. And we just facilitate as teachers. Okay, take the mind there. Now, if you take your hand up, hand is done. I say, take your attention to the wrist. Extend the wrist up. You are fully attentive. Now your mind can't wander. Now again it goes. So now we have to find a way that constantly the mind is not going to like to extend the wrist. So you go to the root. Where do I move from so that the mind gets absorbed? Because the mind is not going to like constantly being told, do this, do this, do this. It will do it for some period of time. So you need to go to the root so that the wrist remains. So that's a study. So that's where the intelligence comes in. So there's a flow of awareness. So it is sustained. So finally it comes from doing to experiencing to sustaining, and then comes a state of absorption. So then we also use the breath. So normally, breath is always used when you get breathless or you try. So you do that. So it's all a interplay. But initially, everything starts with what is visible. So you start with primarily the limbs. You start with straightening the limbs, then studying the connection between the limbs and the spine, then the frontal body, the back body, because you generally don't feel the back. Then from the back, then you go that the body is made of layers. There's a first layer, there's skin, there's flesh, there is empty space, there are ribs, it goes on. So then you can actually penetrate the mind. To what level you want to penetrate? Do you want to go all the way? So that is all refined movements. So mind gets very refined movements, how much to penetrate. And this naturally comes with maturity in practice. So how much can it be moved? So then it becomes a sadhana. It's a fascinating thing.
Yeah. So this is a random question completely because of what you've been talking about. Since you were lucky to start at an early age, a lot of us are already corrupted, having stayed in urban milieu, and we struggle to follow a lot of these things that you're talking about in terms of adapting it to bodies which are worn and torn and continue to be so in atmospheres that are not helping, perhaps. So, are you, as an organization and as a teacher, concentrating on catching them young?
No, not
Are
really.
you don't think that is important? Sorry.
Whoever comes is welcome, whatever age. So accordingly, they are taught. So if there are children, naturally put them in the children's class, teenagers, the rest depending on their maturity. So I don't think that age plays a role. In fact, youngsters, you have to teach very differently. Older people will possibly see the effects much faster.
Oh.
Because you have a certain experience. As one gets older, one has experiences of phases of discomfort. And moment that quietness, because the stressors are there, stress is there. So moment you feel that calmness, the quietness, you immediately see the difference. So if you were to ask me at that point, I will not understand anything. But something inspires, so you continue. But today, if you say you put in and you get a sense of quietness, you sent again sense of relief, which is instantaneous in these certain poses, naturally. So they possibly appreciate it much more. So I would say, yes, you do it because you develop personality when you start young. You become more resilient to the peer pressure, I would say, which is often there. So you're able to handle it, you sort of see through it. So possibly you don't get affected by the pressures. Okay, I don't do this. That's it. So, people accept you. Okay, you don't do this. That's it. But
Yeah.
as you go older, you see the things much faster if you're open minded, of course. So that's the way we would encourage anybody. We generally don't become very encouraging who come with the motive of becoming a professional teacher, because we see that their goal is very short sighted. So,
True.
they will just say, okay, I get a certificate. There are various other places to do that. So here you want somebody, people come with different motives, and honestly, the motives change. Motive, purpose changes. So somebody had actually gone and done a survey during 1998, about 100, 150 teachers were gathered there. And what they found that a large number, international, large number came for some physical ailment, some back pain, etc., XYZ. Some came for curiosity. But what kept them going? They said something spiritual. They were practicing for 5 years, 10 years, mostly I think 10 years plus. Something spiritual. They couldn't express why they were continuing. And definitely, as you see, our classes are not really like a club culture where you have a chance to interact and socialize. Maybe a little after class. There's no scope for that. So nobody comes for that purpose, or we are not giving them any kind of, youngsters a certificate or something. So you're not giving them that you will get a job or vocation. So it's something which is actually getting you something within you, why you do it. So, expression maybe calmness, maybe resilience, maybe you find you're able to think clearly. You find that whatever ailments, possibly you're able to handle stress differently, whatever it is. And sometimes you see there's no motive. At some point, there's no motive. It just becomes a part of you.
Okay, this is a quote unquote stupid question. It just struck me before I ask you the next question. Is there a problem being a teacher where you newly learned that, oh, this posture not done this way means a mind of this kind? It's actually a superpower of sorts in a world where everybody is trying to own minds. And here you have a superpower because you've learned something which is as grounded as this one. So are there any obstacles in teaching where you grow? You did mention in one way that when you came in front of Guruji, you immediately knew that there was no use being deluded about your sense of self because others were saying so. But I'm saying internally, suppose uh, you're learning and you develop something. Because once in a while, I have seen yoga teachers, not necessarily from the tradition, have this problem where uh, sense of overconfidence, for want of a better term. Is there something like that you noticed ever among yourself or other people or peers ever?
Uh, I don't think so. One of the reasons is that, people may appreciate after a class, if you're teaching a general class. But you do know that uh, it's like I say, it's not something you have come up with. Maybe your expressions may be yours. So, and whenever there could be phases where one feels, but mind you, it doesn't last long. You have a fall. So anything that is that over, it's going to come down. So I
Okay.
think that, yeah. So if I think that's a danger. The moment you feel overconfident about anything, that's a danger, because that means you have closed your eyes to studying the person in front of you. That's
Yeah.
overconfident. So
Yeah.
every individual in front of you, maybe of the same age, maybe different age, same body constitution, is still different. So you have to be alert to study their responses. So when you study a response, automatically there cannot be overconfidence because you're
Yeah.
reflecting. So there's no
True.
scope of being overconfidence. Overconfidence can be when I am not actually reflecting to person in front of me. Then I can be. But if the I is so high, then I don't see. And that's not the way we are supposed to be. So you are constantly looking. So the moment you reflect, so you go to the back brain. So there's no question of it.
True. That's a very observatory
Yeah.
stance.
But yes, if it does happen. People are going to appreciate. I think that's the beginning of the end. And before it comes, if you realize it, it's good. And we've seen it in history, many achievers,
Yeah.
even in the so-called spiritual realm, they have, and then you see, it's a pity. I mean, they've not reached there all the time because of marketing gimmicks. Some have actually, but they've got carried away. So what Guruji will say, bhoga, and then you see the fall. So
Yeah.
physically, the body may not respond, but you, as Guruji would say, you would have different powers. Even when you're practicing, the first you use is physical power. You use your willpower. You use your mental power. You use your intelligence. Finally, it is the divinity. So when that comes, there's no question of over. So you are one. So where's the question of overconfidence? But one has to realize that when one moves from being, that's why, you'll never find that you have a certificate. For example, very objective. Iyengar yoga teachers across the world are given a certificate. So that's a recognition that this person. But this certificate has to be renewed and they have to practice. So practice brings you down. So there was one of the Spanish teachers who had come up that if you teach 2 hours, you practice 3 hours. So naturally, all this will come down. No, you'll get grounded. But if you stop doing that, then yes, you can become on the platform.
Mechanical, yeah. But you
Mechanical, you're on
stop.
the platform. So most of the times, we have this sort of condition, I would say, laid down that you continue learning from your seniors. So we all attend classes in Mumbai with our seniors or other teachers. Now with the pandemic bringing in an online version, we attend classes with Prashantji in Pune. We go there. So everybody does that. So it's a routine for any Iyengar yoga teacher in the world to study with somebody. And of course, as you get older, life lessons bring you down. So yeah, there will be teachers who are 70s, 80s, naturally. But by that time, you won't have that overconfidence or ego. Life teaches you. So
It's so beautiful. I think there are so many life lessons in this one answer alone for so many streams of life, let alone yoga, of course. One of the things that I have been little concerned about since I have a kid who's now, like I mentioned, in her teens and about to at some point enter college and work life or whatever as life may plan for her. Uh, I hear in fact, my kid told me once that we are bandying about words like stress and depression and anxiety as if they are normal words, and it is such a dumb thing. It was just her reading of scenarios. Luckily or unluckily, I have changed my parenting methods because now I'm a single parent for a while. Um, so I've kind of tried to befriend her and talk to her about everything like I would talk to an adult as much as she can understand and or try and course correct as I go along because there's no uh, one size fits all that I can do with her. So, what do you have to say about this as a teacher and I would believe a concerned citizen? How do you look at this?
I think this whole thing of stress, depression, anxiety, all these things are because of overprotection and preventing children from, in my words, experiencing falls and failures. Every parent wants their child, I'm generalizing to a great extent,
True.
to do the best. It's okay. Let them not do the best. Let them see. They don't want to do it, don't do it. What are the consequences? Let them face it. So once they face it, they know how to handle it. So question is not stress, question is perception of stress. So it comes to a situation that they perceive a tiny thing as stress. So I don't know whether you're aware, but I have this book, Imagine If, where I've written stories of people who have really extreme traumatic conditions in life
Yeah,
and
I've read
how
it.
they perceived it. So I have written in the preamble that suffering is a choice in a way. You have calamities, how you look at it. And we talk about stress, stress, stress. The fact is there really that level of stress? What is that stress? We are unable to handle it. That's why it's stress. I mean, stress is not something new. Arjuna had stress. All his symptoms were what common people would say about stress even today. So it is how we handle it, and teaching children to handle academics. Why not let them handle? So if there's exams, oh, focus on the exams, don't look here or there. Or let them do day-to-day activities. Let them get less marks. What does it matter? In the long run, who remembers what marks you got? But as long as they're involved and enjoying what they're doing, enjoying in the sense involved in what they're doing. I'm not talking enjoying in a different of that sense. Then let them choose their path. If they have done it, if in childhood they have had problems, done things, naturally, if they take up a path and it doesn't work, they will know, okay, I'll go into something else. So, because life is not going to be as you planned. Who knows? At least I would say in your daughter's case, she has seen the difficulties. So she has already developed coping mechanisms. She has
Yes.
grown through that age where she's seen struggle. Personal, obviously, she's seen it in various fronts. She's developed coping mechanisms, and that's why she feels what is all this? Stress, depression. I mean,
Yeah.
she's possibly gone through much more, and she's learned how to live with it, handle it. So even in that, she's got life lessons through that. But otherwise, if they have not seen anything, and then the worst part would be when you have grown them in such a protected environment, the driver leaves you everywhere, driver comes you back, food, nothing they have done. Now if you send them somewhere and then you say, okay, I want to send them abroad, they're totally, because they're lost. If they're older, and that too if they're going just because peers are going abroad, it's difficult. If they are very attached to a subject, or they are already in that, then they will not get lost. So some manage to cope, some really have issues handling things. So I guess it's all about how they are trained, whatever it is. So that's why sport comes in. Sport is not, it's of course physical fitness, but sports teaches you how to lose, because you're not always going to win in a sport.
Yeah.
So it teaches you to lose and how to handle it. And you realize, oh, at that point, they may be very agitated. I lost so badly. I lost a match so badly. I don't play it. But afterwards, you realize, okay, that's not the end of the world. And you go ahead again if you like the sport. So, these are the things which are important. And I think now education is focusing now, as far as I understand, in various aspects of not just, the academics. And everything is academic. Everything is so if somebody is very
Learning.
good, it's fine. Now, everybody is not going to be good in math and science. So what? They're good in something else. We learn to respect that. So we had these phases, I would say, for a long period of time, a fascination for people who spoke good English. What does it matter? It's a means of communication. Not everybody is going to be a writer. Not everybody is going to be. It's a means of communication as long as the message gets along. So there used to be tendencies, or if people didn't speak good English or they made, there was a sense, or vernacular. What does it matter? They're communicating. That's what it is. It's a language. Yes, it's an important language because it's through you're communicating with the world. But that doesn't, the whole thing is about giving, I feel, values to things. This is superior. This is simply, who decides that? If you're studying science, it is, people will have, oh, it is good. If you're studying this, it is good. If you're going to this school, it's good. Yeah, school makes a difference because it's a company that is there. The kind of friends you would make, the background of the families. But beyond that, I don't think it makes that much of a difference. Yes, it does make, because the company is going to mold you, because a child spends so much time outside of home. And, whatever they see there, they will get it. And they're not in an age where they can discriminate. But beyond that, I don't think, we need to teach people to give a grading system or a value to everything. Good, not so good, those kind of things. Just learn to respect everything. So you don't have to suddenly say, oh, I have a lot of compassion, my poor servant. Respect them for the work they do. Why do we have to say, this is a lowly job? Hey, we don't exist. So yes, you respect them. But doesn't mean, because I often see these kind of discussions. They're humans, why do you treat them? I mean, tell me, in which household in India you are going to have your helper sit with you at the dining table and eat? I don't think so. Most people will not. And they will also feel uncomfortable. But that doesn't mean that if they eat after you, it is something we are devaluing there. It's just respecting them. That's it. So, you know,
Yeah,
these kind of arguments do come in. Why this? Why this? See, we are all comfort with the our kind of people, whatever is our. You're
yeah,
not going to be comfort in another kind. So that's it. And but you respect every kind. And if you are put in that situation, you're able to handle it. That's all about it. So I think for youngsters, it's important. It's more about and today another issue that I often see is that it's come to the other extreme. Earlier there was a lot of strictness, so you say they didn't let them think. Now whatever you say is right. You know, that's come this phase. Whatever you say is right. Are sometimes, but let them know it is. In my opinion, it is not right. Everything cannot be right. So you know, okay, this is my opinion. It is not right. That's it. So everything is right. And then sometimes they realize, hey, this is not true. All this while I have been thinking, you know, small example, you'll tell a small child, you're very great. The child understands. But if the child really gets to the head, I'm very great, and then they go into the world and then they see, oh, they're not so great. So what
yeah,
happens in most of these competitive exams and, you know, possibly in the high level educational institutions, they are best in their school. But when they go to the institution, it's best from all the institutions. So now you're at level on par. So you need to accept that there are many like you. Then it is not difficult, but you are always kept on a pedestal. And then suddenly you realize I'm not the only one. There are so many who are with me. So you don't know how to handle it. So I think it's in thing is that you should really get them exposed, let them see, even do things they're not good at. It's okay. You know, okay, you're not good. Try your hand if you're interested. Kya hoga? So I've seen people will say, okay, you're going to play badminton. Are you going to become a Prakash Padukone? Let them play now. Yeah, I understand that if people have financial limitations, then you are not going to go overboard. But sometimes there's this feeling that whatever do, you have to excel.
yeah,
So who defines what is excellence? What is excellence? It's very difficult because always at some point somebody is going to be better than you, if not today, tomorrow. So I think it's also that you learn not what the objective is. It's all the small skills and factors that come in. It's not the main thing that what is obvious. You know, schooling, I don't think is obvious about the grades they get in the 10th grade or the admissions that they give. It's so many other things, the social skills, the behavioral skills, the, as I've said earlier, the ability to fail, the ability to be compassionate, because you will see people in trouble. It's the best environment to see, you know, but you don't have to go to the other extreme. Oh, see how poor, we are giving you food, people are poor. They see for themselves. So let them see the world. I think there's nothing better than that. And it doesn't mean one has to travel the world. You know, teach them to be observant. So they observe things. You know, automatically, if one is fussy, some point you sort of realize it. See, the children are very observant. They're extremely observant. We are closing their eyes. You know, they see a lot of things, but we are gradually narrowing them with blinkers. So they will observe, they will see. I mean, supposing a child's perception may be, you may say, oh, poor person is staying on the road. A child may see, oh, but they're having so much space in the open sky. Same thing. It's a poor thing perception. The child saying, oh, they are in nature. Oh my God, they have the whole sky to them. So leave it,
yeah.
you know, let them see the different things. That's what I feel. And once they see
No,
that, many attributes would come which may help them handle. Because it's not, life is not going to be easy. I mean, you know, but they can make it easy.
yeah. One tangential question. Um, One of the things that I have been, I can't say one has reached that point, but I find truth is a great basic ground to operate from in various aspects of life. Uh, how do you view truth as a practitioner of yoga and the practice of life?
100%. Because that's the first yama, satya. And what is satya is, you know, the moment in all aspects, all aspects. It's not just speaking the truth or hiding things or hiding ailments or anything, you know. It's just, that's what is transparency. So if you're transparent, you don't have to create any masks or facades. You are what you are. So that's the basic thing. And children are actually the most truthful to start with. They are conscious. So we have, we talk about physical health, mental health. Who talks about the health of the conscience? I mean, Guruji would call it, the conscience, the dharmendriya. Saying children, I feel, have the very strong conscience. When they're very small, they'll not hide anything. They will go and repeat anything to everybody. So there is no question of hiding anything. Their conscience is quite clean. So if they have done something wrong and they realize it is wrong, it will be bothering them till they open it out. They will tell you. And the parents don't react, they'll be honest. Otherwise, then they develop. So how the parents react at that point of time? If the parents tell them, okay, something, but if they're very, very strong about it, then they learn to hide. So, that conscience is, sometimes what happens is that you teach something, but you do something else. Now, say simple, don't smoke. But the parents are smoking. So what will the child learn? The child is confused. So, and to put it simply, even in class, for example, if you're teaching children and I will say hand straight, my hand is crooked, they'll keep their hands crooked. So what I speak has less importance than what I do, what they see. So eyes are much more powerful than the ears at that point of time.
Yeah.
So that is the reason, the truth part. And then it sort of grows into you. So we keep evolving our health of the conscience. And when that keeps evolving, there is less chance of you being untruthful, that truth. Whatever is my understanding of truth, because nobody knows the ultimate. But whatever understanding, it's the conscience which keeps you going. So that takes care of a lot of things. Working. Now, if I'm teaching and I'm not giving it my full potential, whatever it is, my conscience, nobody needs to tell you. All of us know. Whatever work we are doing, whatever we are doing, whether our conscience tells us whether we don't need anybody else. Whether it is simple cheating by traveling by train, conscience tells us, and especially beginning it tells us. Afterwards, we become hardened and the conscience goes into a cave and we are unbothered. So even I'm sure the harshest of criminal has a conscience first time. Later, maybe it gets covered and hidden. So I think as a human being, we do all have a conscience. And when we listen to it, I think it's sort of, yes, there will be times, when people say, but as much as we do it and there is honesty, then you just face it, because you don't have to create a mask over you. You don't have to intentionally create duality. So how I behave outside, how I behave. And again, that's what we learned from Guruji. Because wherever we saw, and I have seen many others later in life, and then you see more of them, you realize, they're saying, but they're doing this. How can that be possible? So then your respect goes down, but you respect for whatever you learn or whatever. But in Guruji, it was absolutely transparent. Absolutely. Even with Geeta ji. Now you tell me, she was on Guruji's centenary. She is a yoga teacher, and how the West perceives yoga. Comes on a wheelchair, and people said, Geeta ji, why, we'll have a curtain. Saying, what is there? What is there to hide? And you had 1,500 people listening to her, following what it is. Very, very, the transparency, because otherwise, yoga teachers, there's an image. No, there's no need for an image, no. So that's the power, and that's where you see the strength coming in. And in Geeta ji's case, what was astonishing was that she kept on telling us for 6 months, I'm waiting for Guruji's centenary. So she had some health issues. Then the last 6 months, she was very, very, very strong. I don't know how many classes she taught. Sometimes we would get, morning, 6 hours, 5 hours. And she said she's renewed energy. And she said, no, I've told God, keep me till Guruji's centenary. And we said, what is she talking about? So she said, I want to do a class in November and December. Saying, do November later. No, it's my mother's birth anniversary. I will do it. She didn't listen to anybody. And believe me, on the 13th and 14th was Guruji's centenary. 12th night, we are at home with her. She says, I've done my job. That's it. So I said, Geeta ji, you are speaking tomorrow as per the program scheduled. You are speaking on 13th. Prashant ji is speaking on 14th. What is there to speak? Whatever it is, I've spoken. You speak. So I said, Geeta ji, what will I speak? People are coming to listen to you, not me. I said, unless you're not feeling good, because she had taught 6 hours a day, 5 to 6 hours a day to 1,500 people, and that's no joke. And with her, Her eyes are everywhere, on the monitors, on the people in Balewadi Stadium. Hey, they're in red, come here, come to the stage. So it's a tremendous amount of attention required, everybody. So she said, I said, okay. She's saying, if I don't come, you speak. So I was looking at the watch, she turned up. I said, oh, relief, now she's going to go on stage. Believe me, 14th program was done. 15th, she was all well. So we said, we are leaving. I wanted to talk. I said, we'll do it next week. And she called a couple of people who wanted to meet her, literally called them. So was some Israeli saying, find out where she is. She wants to come. They met her. Next morning, around 5:45, I get a call, Gitaji is no more. And 14th, so none of us could believe it because we met her teaching, talking, health, whatever. So it was as if it was Ichamrityu. I don't know. But, she kept saying it all the time. And we were now, even the grandchildren, her grandnephews, and saying, what is she talking about? We would say, what are you saying, Geetaji? The power, somebody would control so many people. So I think there is certain amount, so much to learn. I have no idea what it was, but it was quite a experience in that sense, quite a shocker that you've heard about this in mythology. We have no clue. So whether somebody has such a control over life itself, we don't. So, we saw a lot of this transparency, simplicity, the openness. So, when you see all that, you feel that is the way it is. You don't actually judge. You start doing it. And then you become an example for the others. So if you would see, you have been to the therapy classes, you will see every teacher who came there was totally involved. Whatever their capacity. Nobody came and said, oh, I have to do it, or is trying to avoid, or, run away. Everybody tried. And they are not even professional teachers, many of them. They're just coming because they want to help. This is not their profession at all. They're not even getting a single rupee out of what they come for. They come of their own free will to serve, to learn, to help, and which you will find not here. You'll find in many fields. You'll have these kind of people. So that is, that in most cases, when you see somebody, you are inspired by them, you follow. So that's where our culture, it's all about seva. Nobody forces you. You want to do something for others. And that's a sense of joy for many. Not for yourself, but for others. And it's nothing. It's just a personal satisfaction, as one may say. I mean, you don't have to prove to anybody. And sometimes you don't even realize why you're doing it. You do it. So I'm sure that's there in many people across the world, but possibly more because this is part of our culture, but it's there in many cultures also.
One last question, ma'am. You spoke, let me just frame this. You spoke so much about failure and the ability to fail being a very strong point in terms of learning to live life better, of sorts. You've been working with a lot of patients many a time. How do you personally view your attempts with them and the experience and the results? Like all three, can you break it down for me in terms of understanding how you approach it? Because when I talk about the experience from my point of view, when my wife came to learn the technique, we knew that it was a difficult task to start with. And I'm not even mentioning the other thing that one is willing to travel early in the morning from one place to another, and those things are taken for granted that you are willing to spend time, effort, energy, whatever is required because you want to come out of your ailment. How do you see these three parts? The beginning, how do you read it? The experience itself, any story in particular where you had some experience where either you failed or it was a very difficult task or anything at all?
I think each case to me is difficult. Each case that comes in.
Sorry, can you speak a little louder?
Yeah. So to me, see, when a person comes in, you get all kinds. Now, some are repetitive. So you have experience of a previous case and you repeat it. Then you have the third, and that's where confidence builds up and you can directly approach. Sometimes, you get also people, you also read people when they come. So initially, the first thing we do, depending on the intensity, the effort that is put in by the individual and the family or whoever comes along. If they take effort, they're serious about it, because very often we take a lot of effort and there's no effort from the part. So it's not going to work because it's too quiet. Then you see if there's a lot of things, what can we do first to give them some confidence and comfort? That's the first. You're not even addressing the disorder, because
Okay.
so you are just saying which gives them some comfort, because they're suffering. So, we started doing certain poses like Purvottanasana on the platform, certain, later bending forward. So that calms the mind and gives them some level of relief and confidence. We are not addressing anybody's issues. So depending on what the condition is. Of course, skeletal-muscular, you see so much of it. So you directly address it, and depends if somebody has had a pull or an ache, you directly address it. But neurological, physiological, those are different. So in that case, the first thing what I learned, and what I learned from Guruji, is never directly address that part, which is affected. You go in the surrounding area. So the best way to see is, since we are so much conscious and aware of the posture, we see the individual's posture, the whole thing. Then to me is to see what happens if my condition is like that. So this works. So like when people came with Parkinson's, there was a different level of confidence in us. But people came with PSP, there was no confidence. Let me be honest, there was no confidence because we had no experience with it. So as I had told you, we are trying. If she feels comfortable, continue. But over a period, you see the responses you feel. Now, the reason that the confidence came for Parkinson's, initially, of course, it wasn't nothing. So we were approached by the support group in Mumbai. Now, when they approached us, my knowledge of Parkinson's was what was there on the internet. I had seen a few people, never really gone to it, and the association was tremors. Now, I said, okay, let me see. So they had their support group meeting in Bombay Hospital. There were about 100 of them. And the first thing one observed, because you were blank and not tainted by any knowledge, that they had very stiff shoulders. They were all drooping, hard neck. Then I started connecting that the neck is hard, and which is the center of, where the dopamine secretion takes place. It's the back brain. So I get into a condition, and because my body has been sensitized, I feel nothing here. So I say, I have to get this. Now, for me to move the shoulders back is easy. How do I get these people to move? So then you start doing things. And at that point of time, obviously, we had certain ideas, but we had Guruji then. So we went to Guruji and said, this is what it is. And he advised us what to do. But again, to implement it when we came back. So went to Guruji, said, we are doing it. And in this case, I had this fascination, as I said, being a researcher. Okay, now we are having so many patients. I want to see evidence, whether it is working. Now, it's very nice when you're out of it. Afterwards, when the session started, I was having anxiety, because what is it? It will show it is not working. What is not working? Anger yoga is not working. But it is not anger yoga. It's my ability to do it is not working. And I'm branding it. Till then, it is indifferent. Nobody knows. You get what I'm saying? So till then, nobody knows whether yoga works. Now I'm giving them evidence that anger yoga is not working, which may be due to my incompetence, my inability to do. So that's a different stress. So we were thinking, now we soon realized that Sarvangasana would work, because when I practice, I feel sensations there, so it should work. Now the next question is how to make them do it. It is scary when you have 20 people with this, and you've seen them in the sessions. Some are quite old, some stiff, and the fear. And here we are going to analyze them. That is also then that when you are just doing it, they feel good. It's end of the story. They're going to be assessed. And then you're going to see whether there has been a change. So it's like an exam. Till then, there's nothing. So then the next thing was that, okay, if I had this stiff shoulder, what would I instruct myself? And that's where the techniques developed. And we said, okay, go right in so nobody falls, because that's a big danger. When Sarvangasana, they go to the tip of the chair, they'll fall. The chair will fold. So that's how we developed. And there, immediately, they all quietened down in the first attempt. So then we knew that this is working, because nobody was restless. So restlessness is an indication they are in discomfort. Nobody is restless without a reason. At least in a diseased condition. If they feel quiet, then we knew we had it. Then there was confidence and they started. And my biggest motivator was that we had a weekends off that time. We did Monday to Friday, weekends off. And then Monday I asked people, so kya ghar pe kuch kiya? Haan, madam, Sarvangasana kiya. So I said, where would they have done Sarvangasana? I mean, this condition, it's impossible. So I said, acha, kaise kiya? I just took it very lightly. Nahi, madam, sofa pe kiya. And that gave me an idea because then there's no worry of falling down. That sofa is not going to topple. Even if they didn't do the perfect course, it made some difference. So then you sort of built up on that. And then, of course, you saw them walking differently at the end. You had people coming. I left my job in Muscat because my handwriting became smaller and I'm an artist. And said, I'm getting my job back after 3 months. So then, you leveled up a different confidence level in that case. But you can't see all cases not similar. And one thing is that people are also aging. Generally, it's an older age group. So age is also going to catch up with you. So it's not that we can be confident, yes, no. The joy is that we have made a difference to their quality of life. We have made them accept the disorder and learn to live with it. That social. So I think that is what it is. But it always requires a lot of support from the family, which I saw in your case and a couple other cases. Because if the family, what can these people do? They are so dependent.
Yeah.
And sometimes they may not even have the financial resources. So as a trust, we don't care about the money. But still, they need the resources to come. They may have to travel by taxi. They need help. So there are a lot of things that are required. So yes, that is how one approaches it. And yes, I don't say there is success or anything. There are times where we are not able to motivate them enough to continue. There are times where you sometimes feel that we have too many people. My conscience tells me that I've not been able to give this person as much attention as required. Sometimes it gets divided between the number of people. But then if you're going to be very rigid, sometimes you say, okay, this. So yes, there are those phases where you do feel and you try to make whatever best possible. But yes, that is there. And now obviously there is no way we are going to succeed all the time. Yes. And what is success? How long does it last? How long is that effect lasting? So I don't think we really look at it at that point. The joy is if they continue doing it and we are able to shift them to the regular and they continue. So that is, something that it becomes a part of their life. So at least they are able to handle. So like to, quote Guruji, yoga can cure what need not be endured and endure what cannot be cured. So we do accept that there will be things and many things which we cannot cure. I mean, if you have cured everything, then you have attained nirvana, you have attained kaivalya. So yes, human life is there. So it's going to be there. But to be able to handle it is what it is.
So on that note, I think I run out of questions now.
Okay.
I also want to thank you for a lot of things that you've done earlier also in our lives and made a very, very strong positive difference. Not only in terms of helping us resolve our immediate problems that were there at that point of time. I have mentioned to you a couple of times messaging you, but today after speaking to you on a variety of issues and learning that the mind I have always trusted, which is yours, is really rich with experience and a lot of compassion. So thank you for sharing your thoughts. I hope you continue to do the great work that you've been doing. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. We have also been learning from many things from people who come. So the students are actually our teachers because, you see the people start becoming more compassionate. Even you will see the others. So there is a constant, it's never a one-way process. So yes, the student is also a teacher for us. And as Guruji will say, God sent.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
I'll see
Thank
you
you.
around.
And all the best to you and your daughter.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Thank you.